Yeah, we'll come back to that shortly. Thank you, Andy. Delighted to welcome our first guest of the evening on the call. It's Maxi Hughes. How are you, Maxi?
Hey mate, thanks for inviting me on. Very well, thanks.
Excellent stuff. You're looking well. You've got a big smile on your face, as well you should have after last Wednesday. Tell us about the Jono Carroll fight, sir. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was a good win. I knew since the fight got announced that I had his number. When we trained the Sean O'Hagan, when we got the offer, um, we knew the game plan. It was just simple stuff that we worked on for 7 weeks. And all along we said every week, this is what's going to work. This is what's going to happen. Sean predicted everything that Jono were going to come at us with. And I think no matter what he'd have come out with, if he'd have come out with stuff differently than what he did, we would have had an answer for. Like, people are seeing it as saying on paper it is a big upset and a shock, but it's not to us because we knew the outcome before the fight. We knew what we could do. It was just a matter of getting in there and doing it, and we were able to do it. I think not with ease, but quite comfortably. I felt comfortable in there doing what we'd worked on, and it worked beautifully.
Yeah, it certainly did work beautifully. Tell us what it was like boxing in front of no crowd in South Kirkby. How was that? Bit surreal?
Yeah, it was a real surreal experience. Like, even the change rooms, they weren't like a proper change rooms. It were almost like a hospital ward. It was just a little black curtain. There were 10, like each boxer had his own little booth, and they were all in a row. You could hear everybody speaking. We were told to keep the noise down, obviously, because it were live on telly and we were in the
Yeah.
same. But we says, look, you're in your changing room. You're not allowed out unless it's for the toilet. You've got to have your mask on at all times, except for when you're starting to warm up. Then you can take it off. And that little room we were in, okay, we're absolutely red hot. I was just, as soon as I got there, I had to strip off into some shorts and just sit there in my shorts. It were absolutely red hot, but it was strangely an enjoyable experience. It were a little bit less pressure, and I think for me, I were able to perform. But I know Jono, watching his fights, he seems to bounce and thrive off at crowds.
Yeah.
Whereas he just couldn't have that. Whereas it didn't bother me at all, and like you could hear each other breathing. It was so quiet. It was like a spa, because there were just each trainer's side at ring, and you could hear instructions like really clear because there were no noise from fans. But all in all, it was strange. I'm gutted, like all my mates and fans weren't there to enjoy it with me. But at the same time, I showed, I'll pull off the win no matter where I am and no matter who's there.
Yeah, one of the guys in the chat, Nathan, says, I thought they were going to give Carroll the decision because of him being the A-side. Glad Maxi got it. Deserved it, in my opinion. Whenever you were standing there, referee Victor Loughlin has your hand. What were you thinking? What was going through your mind? You know, you've been on the end of decisions in the past. Were you a little bit concerned? Were you completely confident?
I was confident that I'd done enough to win the fight, fair
Yeah.
and square. But like, I feel like like I've been broken down by boxing before, like where some of my bigger fights I hold my hand up and I accept losing. But there's been some where I feel I've been hard done by. Even the fight when I fought Martin J. Ward the third time, fought British, I accept losing the fight, but I thought it was really close. Maybe 2 rounds maximum. But when you hear the judges' scorecards and look at the scores, it's as though I hadn't turned up. And like, if you didn't see the fight and you look at the result and the scorecard, you think, well, Maxi's not even turned up there. He looks like he's been quite easily beat. Where after that fight, I was quite impressed with Tony Sims and Martin. They came and saw me backstage and they says, look, you've improved massively. Take no notice of them scorecards because it was a lot closer than what they say. So because of stuff like that, I thought deep down I'd won the fight. Well, I knew it. But then I looked out at ring and I saw judges, 3 of them together, like gathering the papers and getting ready to give him to the MC, and I thought, oh no, I says, here we go again. Like you say, because we do see it so many times in boxing where there is the dodgy decisions where I know it's all down to opinion, but sometimes you think what must be going on there, because it's clear for everybody to see who won that fight, and what you get, what everybody seems to, a lot of people talk about is whoever's been busiest. And boxing, everybody knows boxing is about hitting your opponent more like with the cleaner, clinical shots. Not just about being busy. You don't go in a gym and your coach don't tell you, oh, all you need to do is get in there, just throw, just be busy.
Yeah.
That's not boxing, and that's not going to win. Well, it does. Annoyingly, it does win fights sometimes. I can understand it when there's not a lot happening at all in a boxing bout, but it was clear to see. I watched it back last night for the first time, and like trying to watch it from an unbiased, as a spectator, I thought I did land with a clinical, clean, crisp shots, whereas Carroll's they were just like little arm punches, which it didn't look effective at all. So all in all, I thought throughout each round there were a couple of rounds which I thought were close. Maybe he nicked them, but for the most part, I thought I landed the cleaner, nicer looking shots.
Yeah, the guys in the chat are supportive of you. We all think you got the job done. What's next? Inevitably, that's the next question. What do you think? I know the dust hasn't really settled yet, but what are you looking for?
Well, I know when I signed the contract to fight Jono Carroll, there was an option there about MTK taking control of my next fight. To be, like it says, to be a big fight. And I spoke with Lee Eaton just after, only briefly, nothing official. I think at first a joke says, "Have you got your contract ready for me, Lee? Because I've got my pen ready." But he says, yeah, he says we can definitely do something, because he obviously he's worked with Steffi Bull, my manager, quite a lot, and they get on well. And he says that they can do some work and secure me some fights. So I'm just having a few days with family, but I'm going to speak to my trainer and managers and my team next week, and just see if they know anything of yet, or we can start looking about and seeing what we can do. But I'd just like to keep the bigger fights coming, just to move on. I think my rankings have gone straight up. I think I went to 35 in world,
Right.
and number 5 in Britain. So there's I'm well ranked now. So yeah, whatever fights can get made, big fights. Yeah, we'll see what people can do for me.
Yeah, hopefully they can get you something big anyway. You certainly deserve it. Tell us about Sean O'Hagan. You mentioned him there, Josh Warrington's dad. You've been training with Sean for the last few fights. How's it going?
Really well. Well, I first started sparring Josh when he picked up his English title, and he was when he was training to fight for Commonwealth. That's when we started sparring. Like my trainers at the time, Dave Hulley and Jimmy Harrington, they were working a lot with Sean and bringing Josh for sparring. We were helping out a lot. So since then, Sean's known me and he's always seen me sparring and training. And just through my circumstance, moving from Doncaster to Wakefield, it were a lot to travel, keep travelling to Doncaster to train on an evening like, especially after work. And since I had a daughter, seeing my daughter on a night and then going to gym, it just suited me to move permanently to Sean and over with Josh and that in Leeds. So that's that's been official like for my last 4 fights. So yeah, he's a good coach, great guy. We've got a good gym, lads. We all have good crack in there, and we all support and encourage each other. It's all been working really well. And my trainer who I was with Doncaster, Jimmy Harrington, Jimmy's still about and still comes to the gym and helps out. I'm gutted as well that he didn't manage to make it on fight night. Like he normally comes as part of the corner team as well.
Final couple of questions for you, Maxi. We do thank you for your time on this Sunday evening. You were supposed to fight on an MTK card before the lockdown. I think it was out in Kazakhstan. What happened there?
Yeah, I were due to. I forgot his name. But he were ranked number 11 in world. He'd won. He'd got the WBC International, and I got offered that fight. I think off of the back of the Liam Walsh fight. I had to get a win, just a 4-round win. So my manager Steffi put me on one of his shows to get a win, and then we were due to go a couple of weeks out, and it were a fight I was looking forward to, and I knew I could have won that fight. And I were happy, even though it was Kazakhstan, I were happy to go and travel over there. But I think what had happened, I was told that my opponent had got injured in training and were no longer able to fight. I was gutted. I were hoping that it were even going to get postponed and we were going to get given a later date, but nothing came of it. And then that was supposed to be on 22nd of March, but obviously then as time got closer, then the COVID situation happened, and I think everybody's boxing it went to nothing then. So yeah, that he apparently just pulled out, but every cloud has its silver lining, and I ended up going through this and getting the Carroll fight, and things have worked out. It's a bit later on in the year, but I'm grateful that MTK have been able to get me a fight, even though it's still tough times with the COVID and everything.
We seem to see the rise, Maxi, these days of all these like celebrity fights and YouTubers and whatnot. You've been quite vocal about that in the past, having these YouTubers headlining shows and that.
Yeah, that it did wind me up a bit of that, and you know what? I ended up getting more stick than for that. My Twitter got hammered. I said one thing, not thinking about it, just because it did wind me up. That my opinion was that it makes a mockery of boxing. Us, like the majority of boxers, we graft since we were kids, since we were young kids, through amateurs. We're out training all the time, and then you turn pro, and not everybody's obviously at the top of the game. So we're working and we're running before work, working, going and doing a day's work, then grafting, and and I think it's the statistic in boxing, only the top, there's like 5% of boxers make enough money and get to headline bills and big, and then you get these YouTubers, they've built their army of fans by chatting rubbish on silly videos on YouTube, and then they just think they can enter our world, and well, they obviously did. They did enter our, and that's what winds me up, is that they've not put no effort in, and they get these big fights, and everyone's. What I got the abuse was, they're all better than me. They'll beat me easy. I'm a nobody, and apparently they were going to bring more people to boxing. But I think it would have brought the wrong people at boxing, because people will think, well, these have never had an amateur fight or whatever. Oh, I'm just going to turn pro. And that's delivering a wrong message, because it's a serious game. And as we know, tragedies happen. And if everybody thinks they can just come to boxing and thingy, people are going to get hurt, and boxing is going to get a bad name. And, if that, I don't think a lot has come of them YouTubers having the fights. I've not personally seen a massive surge in anybody's coming to gym,
No.
which I am all for. If people have got a genuine interest and want to try it, do it, but don't just come and think, I want to be a pro because a YouTuber turned pro. I want to go pro. There's the proper way forward to do it. You've got to show some dedication for months first before you can even have a proper boxing bout. And then I think you should go through the amateurs and, work your way up properly like everybody else. That was just my opinion.
Yeah, no, we agree with you. Well said. Final question for you, just before we let you go, just a personal one here. You're a road warrior. You're not afraid to go and fight away from home. 2016, You came over to Belfast, fight James Fryers, good amateur quality fighter. Fryers was expected to go places. You pretty much put the nail in the coffin of that career, winning a split decision. James only fought once again after that. What do you remember of that fight, Maxi?
I remember I got offered it. I think I had about 5 weeks' notice. I looked at his records, and I think at that time I think I'd fought Ward twice, the Cardle fight. So again, I believed in myself. I looked at his record. I thought he's not fought anyone. I happily took that fight, and obviously I believed in myself. Got the decision, and I was a bit gutted to even still. I got a lift to the venue overnight with Sean McComb, and we were talking about it then. His attitude still to this day is that he thought that he genuinely won that fight. He thought he were robbed, so that's the reason that he packed in. And it's sad to see somebody, I guess it's just a quitter's mentality, that he couldn't accept being beat, and he wasn't able to move on. But I enjoyed that fight. Fryers just couldn't adapt. He kept doing the same thing. As I remember rightly, he just kept winding left hook up and really loading up with left hook. I think he'd stopped a few people with his left hook, so he thought he was going to stop me with it. But I saw it coming every time, and I just spun underneath it, countered him, and it were an impressive boxing display, I think. And I rightly got the decision. They had 3 neutral judges. Well, I say neutral. I think there was one Irish, Hughie Russell Jr. I think he gave it to Fryers by about 8 rounds. But luckily there were 2 normal judges who judged it unbiased, and they rightly gave me the proper decision. But yeah, it was a good experience. I enjoyed going to Belfast. The show was put on by Mark Dunlop, who
That's right, yeah.
I'm friends with now, and I went over to Belfast a couple of times last year. I stayed with Mark, and I stayed with James Tennyson's trainer Tony Dunlop, because they brought me over to spar James. So I'm friendly with them team, Tony and Mark Dunlop. Got a lot of time and a lot of respect for them. So yeah, I enjoyed my trip to Belfast. So yeah, it was a good fight, and just enjoyed that one.
Brilliant stuff. At Boxer Maxi Hughes over on Twitter. Any other social media presences to follow you, Maxi?
Yeah, the main one I use, Instagram. I think just under Maxi Hughes, should find me. But yeah, on Twitter, I got given some advice from MTK and IFL just to get on my social media more and capitalize on this momentum I'm building. So yeah, I'll be getting busier on social media now.
Brilliant stuff. Go and give him a follow, everybody. Congratulations on the win over Jono Carroll. Best of luck going forward, and thanks for joining us, Maxi. We appreciate you giving your time.
Yeah, thank you.
All the best, sir. Thank you.
Cheers, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, bud.